Hello and welcome back to A Wonderful World. Last time we cleaned up some of the timelines by getting some of the full endings. For example, Alicia, we got another S ending, which allowed us to get a successful branching timeline instead of this, this one. And because of that, it's no longer accessible. But now we can move on to these sort of things. We still haven't seen who Park Sang-gun looks like. I'm starting to suspect as Park Sang-gun is the past version of Myth. But it could, just because they've kept him hidden for so long. But anyway, let's go. The One-Armed Man. He had the most cowardly smile on his face. He seemed determined to lower himself as much as possible in front of the one-armed man. The man yawned and grabbed the bottle of flavoured wine on the table. Was he going to drink it? No. He couldn't drink that. I stepped forward. I grabbed the bottle, emptied it with a smile on his face, and forced everything gurgling down. It was already too late. The wine and cyanide mixture went down his throat into his stomach. He suddenly stood up and his hand grabbing the sofa. Then he stumbled and fell. His whole body was twitching on the floor. For a second I thought Alicia had grabbed the wine bottle and started drinking it herself to save the one-on man. His hand was now grabbing at his own throat. His mouth was wide open, but he couldn't breathe. The rest of the wine spilled out of the dropped bottle, turning to the white velvet carpet to the bright red colour. The bodyguards were all panicking. Boss Ray? Boss Ray? Mr. Tough, Boss Ray is... what are you waiting for? Call an ambulance. No ambulance could be faster than the cyanide, though. Almost immediately, the one-armed man died. Manu Jai had been sitting on the sofa, as if he had just been paralysed. He kept staring at the body with the incredulous look on his face. He didn't move nor say a word until the bodyguards pointed their guns at his head. It's her. She did it. She poisoned the wine. They wouldn't let anyone get away with this at this point. They stuffed Manu Jai and I into the trunk of the car. A proper greeting would be waiting for us. Alicia. Okay. My late daddy used to lecture me, saying that it was dangerous for us to have predictable daily routine, as the humans might be able to track our activities. Despite that, I had developed a habit of visiting the fresh seafood store at the corner of this street every day at noon. Today, as usual, I was tank shopping the tanks in the lobby, pondering the most important question to me. What was for lunch? The fish in the left tank were all too big. The fish in the tank next to my feet looked delicious. But there were only 6 of them left, and it would be too obvious if I stole one. I decided that I would go with the tank on the top right corner. No one would notice if one fish was missing, as there were so many in them. And they had fewer bones too. More importantly, they were really fish. I hunched my back and was about to jump up when my ears picked up a tiny noise behind me. The owner had just come into the lobby from the back. I quickly hid behind the tank and watched as he opened the roller door, washed the ground in front of the entrance, and sat down to wait for the first door of the day. The owner had blonde hair and blue eyes, which was not common in the city. The other humans called him Alex. Isn't that obviously because we know that Spotty and Pock are in the same area? So is this the same? Is this the same man? I believe it is. Personally, I sneaked up to the door and meowed softly, pretending that I had just arrived. Following the principle of not trusting humans, I would never intentionally expose my tracks to the humans. Still, sometimes I wondered if I needed to be so careful around these humans, whose every move was always so predictable. Take this guy, for instance. I was sure he would not chase me off. Hey, you there. Just wait there a second. A couple of minutes later, he placed a glass in front of me and poured me half a glass of milk. Oh, it smells so good. Milk is truly the cat's best friend. But then I realised I wouldn't be getting any fish today. Well, I mean, milk though. Milk's still a good gain, I think. I meowed to the owner with my cutest expression. I want a full glass. He scratched his chin, seemed to understand something, and went to go grab something from the cabinet. Then he put a few pieces of dried fish in front of me. Ew. After Daddy had passed away, I spent a whole month eating dried fish, and we had saved together. Ever since then, even the sight of dried fish had been enough to make me sick. He pet me on the head. In the end, as a stray cat, I didn't have the luxury of to be picky about my food. Besides, as long as I got along with this human, I could come back as often and steal more fresh fish. So I bent my neck and rubbed my head against his hand, pretending to be a docile little kitty, and meowed happily at him. For the record, I'm not actually happy. I don't understand how this is going to save Alicia if we swap Spotty's letter, because so far it's about food. Well, obviously it's about consumption either way. But I was licking the milk with my head down when the strong smell of alcohol shook me. Is this Pock's father? Is he shut up? Someone had spat his phlegm into the nearest fish tank. Here comes trouble. A man with black hair stood in front of the shop. A half-empty bottle of beer was dangling from his hand, making a splashing sound. His eyes were wandering and unfocused. I recognized him. Yep, this is Park's father. He lived at the small house that was the highest one in the community in the hills. Both his wife and son had blonde hair and blue eyes. They were much better looking than him. Although I had not seen them for a while, I heard the wife had committed suicide. Ouch. The owner's eyes stayed fixated on his newspaper, but his hands were trembling. Well, as far as I knew, the relationship between the owner and the other guy's family had been complicated, to say the least. So yeah, so I mean, the father still thinks Alex is the father of Park. Hence, obviously, all the abuse towards the wife and Park himself. Blackhead Man's blonde wife had often been seen hanging around with the owner in a very intimate way. Whenever the neighbours nearby saw them together, they would gossip about it. The owner was very concerned, but the woman didn't seem to care at all. once I heard the humans chatting that the blonde woman had some kind of illness. What kind of illness would make people behave like that? Oh yeah, lovesick. I had to think about what that was. Couldn't understand it. The man had always been very nice to his wife, but the wife was a dragon lady. Not only did she have an affair, but she would even beat up her husband and her son. Okay, and so they flipped it around. It was the wife who was the abuser. Once I even heard her call her own son. He looked so much like her. He did not. How could he not be her own son? Well, that was terrible. It was terrible. As the days went by, the man began to lose his fur too, and he wouldn't go anywhere without alcohol. But the one who had suffered the most must be the little boy. He was so pretty and looked nothing like the other kids, so another kid would play with him. Sometimes I would run into the boy, and if I had nothing else to do, I'd play with him for a little while. If he happened to have some change on him, he would even buy me some milk. Compared to his parents, the kid was the most, almost like an angel with catnip. Anyway, it was not a normal family. This just seems like Spotty's telling us a detailed background of his, Park's family. I don't know if Park is the last name or first name, because obviously different cultures swap them around of like being addressed. The man stared at the owner for a while, his mouth squeezed at the outer fist. Then his eyes turned to me. He crouched down and knocked over the glass. All the milk spilled out. Some even got onto my paws. It wasn't the first time that this had happened, but the owner didn't move at all, as if it had nothing to do with him. Damn you, stupid human! How dare you interrupt my meal? You wait there. I stared at the stone-faced man waving my fist. I swear I'm going to stuff dead rats into your bed tonight. Please do that, that'd be funny. Spotty. No use crying over spilled milk. Then again, you are a stray, so the best you can get. He grabbed the bottle, emptied it with a smile. There we go. Problem solved. We'll just flip them around. Okay. He put down the bottle. He then spoke to me in a drunken voice. I've won the lottery. Why would you tell a cat this? He took another chug of beer. I've won 1,000,000 won. And he burps. I'm going to get my son back. Sure, you won 1,000,000 won. What the cat hell did it have to do? Did it have anything to do with me? Specifying cat hell specifically. I lowered my head and continued with my milk, ignoring the boring human. Seems like an A or B ending. The exquisite looking wine glass was smashed into pieces near my feet. Bodyguards of the one-armed man had immediately raised their guns in case I tried to do something to their boss. The one-armed man himself was sitting calmly on the sofa, as if he was just waiting for a show. The old man looked at the one-armed man nervously and looked back at me. He was still confused. Even though it hadn't gone as planned, I couldn't give up now. Go to hell, you monster. Oh, you dirty old monster. I bent down and picked up the largest piece of glass. But my right hand was somehow blown into pieces right before my eyes. And then I felt more bullets hitting me in the chest, shoulders, stomach, legs. And I could feel the white sheet of velvet touching my face. It felt so soft. Slowly, it had turned into a bright red. So A and okay. Cool. Then we just do that and then you succeed. The yellow beer and the white milk mixed together and turned into a disgusting colour. How dare you, lousy loser? That was my lunch. I stared at the stone-faced man, waving my fist. Just you wait, I'm going to stuff Devrats into your bed tonight. The stone-faced man, however, seemed to have ignored all my threats. He stood up happily, turned away, and walked into the nearby lottery place. Wait. This new milk cocktail seems to have an extraordinary scent. I, being the bravest soul in this whole universe, drank the milk that looked like it was going to give me diarrhea. As a result, I did get diarrhea in the evening. What was worse, it smelled absolutely horrible. Damn you, human. Why did you try it? I kept swallowing the flavoured wine down my own throat. I would rather drink the poison wine myself than have some innocent bystander die because of me. The ball smashed onto pieces on the floor, and a strange sensation took over my body. I could not breathe. My mouth was wide open. I grabbed at my throat, and both my hands fell onto the floor. My whole body was twitching. As I gradually lost consciousness, I heard a couple of gunshots. The old man fell in front of my face, and his eyes were wide open, full of shock. Blood was oozing out of his forehead, turning to the white velvet carpet into the bright red colour. Ha ha. Even though things had not gone as planned, I could die without regrets now. You dirty old monster. I would haunt you on your way to hell. Or on our way to hell. That's unfortunate for Alicia. She saved someone's life. Let's swap these two around, see if it changes anything. Nope. There we go. See, okay, so see if it saves Spotty. If it saves Spotty, then we can rearrange the other. He looked at me. I looked at him right back. We stared at each other with our different sized eyes. Of course, I had the bigger eyes. At a moment like this, I had to overpower him with my fearlessness. However, I quietly moved my milk glass behind me a little. Gotta be safe not to spill the milk. After the standoff had lasted for a while, he stood up defeated. He turned away and walked into the nearby lottery place. Look, I won. Stupid human. Okay, so we don't mess with Spotties anymore. Bad. Bad. The exquisite looking glass had smashed
No puedo
A
regresar.
woman on fiery hair. Okay, just that. Let's go, Alicia. Let's see if we can get yours done. Thursday. On one side of the bush-covered hill, 2 kilometers away from Tayo Road. Through the scope of my M110, I started staring at the factory 1 kilometer away. There was no other vantage point around the factory. This is the closest FFP available. Final firing position refers to the chosen position by a sniper or a team in a mission. The spot could be considered a potential FFP if it satisfies the following conditions. 1. The target's location must be widely visible from the spot. 2. There are covert passageways available in and out of the area. 3. Avoid places that are adjacent to artificial structures and roads, as well as any sites that might attract the target's attention. And 4. Ideally, it should be in a downhill direction, and if possible, close to water. Makes sense. The wind sped up. The wind speed was 4.3 miles per second. I think. And there was no signs of that changing. Mil.4, my head -2. I had laid out one bullet. I had laid out one bullet out the bullet next to me in a straight line, warming them up in the sun. 2:10 in the afternoon. A small yellow sedan drove up to the factory entrance. Loading. The door opened, and a woman with a full head of fiery red hair got out of the car. Her name was Li Hua, I'm assuming. Could be pronouncing it wrong, most likely am. She was the head of the firearm smuggling team in the Blood Gang. Aiming. I pulled the trigger. So So Alicia got trained to be a sniper by the looks of it. The target was down. I saw a flash from the window on the second floor of the factory. There was another sniper aiming at me. The bullet pierced and shattered the scope. I jerked myself to the side. The bullet didn't go through my eye as my opponent had hoped, but it did give me a severe injury. The right of my face was burning, and it felt like I was on fire. I lowered my body and slid down the other side of the slope. I got to my motorcycle that I had prepared in advance. However, on my way back, my consciousness began drifting, and I lost control of the vehicle. The bike tumbled headfirst into a ditch. Blood was mixed with the muddy water of the ditch, and in a black and red everywhere. While Hua had been killed, completing a mission like this was rather embarrassing. Perhaps it wasn't the right job for me after all. Alicia. Okay, it seems simple enough. And these two have to be... Oh, okay, cool. Problem solved. This seems like the easiest one. Saw a flash, so we pulled the trigger, went through the scope, target was down. My bullet pierced and shattered the opponent's scope and skull. Meanwhile, while I was distracted, the red-haired woman had disappeared from my sight. I lowered my body and slid down the other side of the slope. I got onto the motorcycle and prepared in advance. They would no doubt be enhancing their security after this. I failed my mission. My first mission, I didn't know how to report back to Ray. The noise from the engine echoed through the alley, and it sounded like a growl from an upset monster that no one can see, making me feel even more unsettled. Okay, and so then we just put the target down first. I could see the scope of my opponent had dodged my killing shot. Nonetheless, I had earned enough time to disengage. Mission accomplished. I lowered my body and slid down the side of the slope, got onto the side of the motorcycle and turned in advance, and rode away faster than the breeze. I reported the news to Ray in the luxury suite on the top of the first floor of the Maldi Hall. He was very happy. I have something for you. Ray picked up his coat from the floor and pulled a small box from his pocket. He then handed it to me with his left hand. It's a shame I couldn't help you put it on. Later, I put on the glamorous jeweled necklace into my special treasure box collection. Then, I took out the necklace with a cross on it out of the box. It was the necklace that I had worn ever since I was a kid. I put it into an envelope and wanted to mail it to my brother. Over the last 4 years, I had been regularly sending money to the orphanage back home. Aunt Benita had also written back to me a couple of times. She told me that Carlos had been doing well and that he had been working very hard at school. Carlos must be all grown up now. He must become a fine young man. He really wished that one day I could have gotten a letter written by him. There we go, problem solved. But there's no one after that, so probably have to go back and explore more to get the right endings. For example, this one. But with that, I think I'll call it for now. A shorter episode than usual, but yeah. So with that, thank you for stopping by and I hope you had fun. I hope I see you on the next one. With that, goodbye.